Hi, I'm Kelly with CitrusCycles.ca. This is Tern's eLink. It's an electric folding bike. The standout feature for me on this bike is the value. Yes, you can find cheaper electric folding bikes on the market, but this bike is actually made by a company that is well known for their folding bikes. So Tern has used their patented technology in terms of the folding here on the frame, in terms of the stem and the adjustability that it's up there, and I'll go through all those details with you in a moment. But it's nice to know that the bike was designed by a company that has a long history of folding bikes and quality, and you can tell even just by the paint on the frame, and just the overall quality is definitely there. The other real standout feature to me on this bike is it does use a mid-drive. It's a Vectron mid-drive, which is really nice because it keeps the weight. Same with the battery here is in the middle, so it keeps the weight in the middle. You can also leverage your gears when you're climbing a hill. And that's the other neat thing about this bike, is it does use a Shimano Nexus internally geared hub. It's a 7-speed and you have a twist shifter up here. Being an internally geared hub, that means you can shift while you're stopped. So even though the bike isn't moving right now, I can actually shift the gears, which is really handy in a commuting situation. If you need to stop suddenly at a light or a stop sign, car cuts in front of you, and you need to stop and start again, and you didn't have a chance to shift gears, with the internally geared hub, you can actually do that very easily. The other great thing about an internally geared hub on a folding bike is you don't have to worry about your derailleur getting out of adjustment as you fold it up or transport it. So there's a lot to like about this bike. Those are really the standout features. I'm going to go through all the features on this bike, but you can get all the details, including the pricing, the detailed specs, on our website at CitrusCycles.ca. If you'd like to try this bike yourself here in Ladysmith, or if you're on anywhere in Vancouver Island or the Lower Mainland and would like us to bring it to you, you can take advantage of our Try at Home program. Just head on over to our website at CitrusCycles.ca. Of course, if you're not able to get over here to try it out, we're happy to answer any questions you have, and we can also ship it across Canada. And being a folding bike, it's nice and easy to fold up and transport to you. So let me go through some of the features of the bike, and then I will do a ride test. If you're looking at this bike, it's likely because you need a compact bike. If you need something that folds and you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you still want something that's going to last a long time, is easy to use, this is a great bike to consider. If you don't need the bike to fold, you just want something that's compact, then you might want to take a look at the recent Mueller Tinker. It's more expensive, but it does use the Bosch mid-drive and has a belt and quite a number of other upgrades. It's definitely a more powerful bike with a much bigger battery. This bike is really a great value for the price. Tern does make another folding electric bike called the Vectron. It's quite a bit more expensive, and that's because it uses the Bosch mid-drive and has some other upgrades as well. So if you're looking for a bike for really long range, lots of power for climbing hills, and you don't need it to fold, this isn't the bike for you. This is ideal if you're looking for something that's relatively light, very compact, easy to fold up, a really great price. Maybe you're doing 30 or 40 kilometers, that sort of thing, don't have some really extreme hills, or you have hills but you're not in a hurry to get up them, then this is a great bike. I say all of that because this Vectron mid-drive motor, and I really like having a mid-drive, don't get me wrong, it is only 250 watts. In the bike itself, the motor stops assisting at 25 kilometers an hour. So it's not really fast, and it's not particularly powerful. As you'll see in the ride test, I'm able to make it up all the hills here in Ladysmith, but I do have to put it in lower gear, and it goes more slowly. So like I said, if you need power, this isn't the bike for you, but it's a great price, and it's certainly very responsive, fun to ride. You get all those advantages of the mid-drive. As I mentioned, with the mid-drive, what's happening here is it's turning your chain, and you can see there's a massive chain ring on the front here. And the reason for that is to make this bike feel like a regular bike when you're riding it. That's one of the things that Tern has done a really good job of, is in terms of rideability with the longer wheelbase here, the adjustability that you have with the stem and the handlebars and the seat post. You can really get very comfortable, and you can actually achieve some pretty decent speeds Even though the motor will stop assisting you at 25 kilometers an hour, gravity will never stop. And so I did notice, I could hit 40, 45 and still pedal and not, have the hamster wheel effect with my legs spinning too fast. And that's partly because we've got some nice gear ratios set up here. So with this mid-drag motor, it is turning the chain, and that means when you shift on your Nexus internally geared hub here, you're getting the mechanical advantage of shifting gears with the motor as well as you're pedaling. And so that's really helpful as well with these small 20-inch tires. That actually gives you more torque from the motor, and so you are able to climb up the hills fairly well. So I do like having the mid-drive. It's nice and compact, and I like the battery position here as well. Like I said, it is a smaller battery. I think it's maybe 384 watt hours. You can check all the specs on our website. It does lock to the frame down here. You'll just want to make sure that you don't leave the key in after you lock it on, because your crank arm may collide with the key. So you'll also, when you unlock this, want to remove the key when you pull it out of the frame, because if you leave the key in there again, it will collide with the chainstay here. So always take the key out. As you can see, this bike to turn on is a two-step process. There is an on-off switch here on the battery itself. There's also a little switch here that shows you the current level of the battery. That's useful if you've got the battery off of the bike and you want to check the charge level. And you can charge the battery on or off the bike. There's a little charging port here that is covered to protect it from weather. You just slide that out of the way, and you can charge that on the bike, or like I said, you can remove it from the bike and charge it inside as well. Heading up to the top here on the display, so we've turned the battery on down here, and to turn the display on, we press and hold the M button. That's going to power up the display. I always recommend riding with your lights on, and you can achieve that by pressing and holding the plus button. That's also going to turn the backlight on, and the backlight brightness is adjustable from the display, so that's handy to know. There is a separate on-off switch on the main light here as well. Perhaps that's useful if you don't want to blind somebody or something like that, but I always ride with my lights on, and you can see it actually is quite bright. It's hard to tell in the video, but in person it's a nice bright LED light on the front. What's cool about this light is that you can adjust the angle very easily, and that's important because the stem is adjustable as well, and I'll show that to you in a few moments. We also have a rear light on the back here. Actually, it's got a couple LEDs built into it, and it's got a reflector as well. So that's really nice to have the built-in lighting, and that's running off of your main battery, so you don't have to worry about recharging the lights, running them down accidentally, because the bike will eventually turn itself off, and you don't have to worry about remembering to bring lights on because they're built into the bike. So also on the display here, we do have some information, and that can be changed by pressing the M button here. So you can see our maximum speed, the odometer, the trip time, the trip distance, the current speed, and cycle through all of that. Down at the bottom there, you can see the current battery level and the level of assistance. So to change the assistance, you just simply press the plus. And there's 3 levels of assistance. There's the economy, there's tour, and there's boost. I think the information on the Tern website might suggest that there's 4 modes, but really there's only 3. And you'll find that for hills, you'll definitely need the boost. One of the things I should mention that I don't know if I pointed out in the ride test is this motor is very quiet. You'll hardly ever hear it, and partly because it isn't particularly powerful, but it's enough to definitely help you out and help you go those distances. So that's the display here. Very straightforward, very easy to operate, quite accessible, and really easy to see, so that's nice. We'll continue while we're up the front here. You can see we've got some nice ergonomic grips. Surprisingly, for this price range, they actually are locking, which is great to see. Unfortunately, the plug isn't removable from the end, so if you're wanting to mount a mirror, we may want to go with a temporary style mirror, or you'd have to cut out the plug there. Before I talk about the brakes, I talked a little about the Shimano Nexus, and that's a grip twist here for shifting, and very easy to adjust. And like I said, you can shift at a standstill. We do have a nice little gold bell here. It's quite high pitched. It should get people's attention when, especially since you'll likely be riding this bike in an urban setting. Maybe you're using it kind of for your last mile in a commute where you take a train or a bus and then get off and ride. And so it's nice to have that bell there. The brakes, the brake levers here, these are linear pull V-brakes, rim brakes. So you can see we do have some nice big brake pads on there. I'm not a big fan myself of mechanical brakes on an e-bike. I always prefer to have hydraulic brakes, whether hydraulic disc brakes or hydraulic rim brakes. The advantage of the hydraulic system is that you don't require as much force to stop the bike, and you don't have to worry about the cable stretching or breaking or rusting or that sort of thing. So that's something to keep in mind with this bike. Again, it's one of the trade-offs when you try to get a bike in this price range. One of the things they decided to do was go with the mechanical disc brakes. And you'll notice that when riding it, when I do the ride test, and if you come and try this bike yourself and compare it to a bike with hydraulic brakes, the hydraulic brakes, you can literally stop the bike going 50, 60 kilometers an hour with one finger on each lever. And just a slight amount of force. With these brakes, you are going to have to use more force to stop the bike. Now you do have a mechanical advantage with rim brakes in that it has a larger area by which to slow the bike down rather than a smaller rotor. But yeah, you will notice that it's going to take a little bit more force to stop the bike, and that's something to be aware of. We do have nice full coverage fenders here with a mud flap. That's nice. I haven't noticed them making any noise, which is great. These are the Schwalbe Big Apple tires, and that's a great feature because it has the active line K-guard, so it has Kevlar puncture resistance to really help make sure that you don't get a flat tire. But these are also balloon tires, and what that means is that they have a high volume of air, and you can get the air pressure quite low. So you can go down to 30 psi on these, and these are very wide and have a lot of air in them, so that really helps to make the ride more comfortable. Schwalbe actually did a study and found that in a lot of cases, balloon tires have the same dampening effect as a suspension fork when you're in urban traffic, urban settings, potholes and cobblestones and things like that. So, and I have noticed that it is quite a smooth ride with the tires really absorbing a lot of the bumps. They also have this nice reflective side strip here to help you stay visible at night. So you've got the lights, but you also have that reflectivity on the tires, which is great. Up here on the head tube, this is really interesting. This is a little cover plate that you can take off, and they call it a luggage mount. And what that means is you can get accessories from Tern. We can get them in for you that give you, say, a basket on the front or a rack or that sort of thing. And the neat thing about that is because it's on the head tube here, when you turn the bike, let's see if I turn the handlebars here, that doesn't turn. So that really helps to stabilize the load. If you have something that turns when you turn the wheel, of course, that can cause the steering to be affected, especially if there's a lot of weight, and it can cause a little bit of slope angling on whatever's on there, where this is going to be nice and flat and not affect your steering. So that's pretty cool. While I'm over here, I might as well show you the folding mechanism on the stem here. Tern has a lot of patents on this, and you can see it's a really robust system. Security and safety is really important to me, and so it's nice to see that this isn't going to accidentally collapse while you're riding. So you just pull up on the little red lever here, and then you can push down to unlock it. And as you unlock it, you can see that it retains the clamp here together, and that just comes right down like that. And I can to lock it back up, just do that and clamp it, and there we go. The stem, this is really cool. Up here, the handlebars, it's got a two-part adjuster here. This is great because one of my concerns with the folding bikes is you start riding it and you need to stop suddenly, and if things are loose up here, your handlebars are going to move, and that can be really dangerous. This is, really, really solid. It's going to last a long time, and it's not going to move on you. So once I've opened up those two, then you can actually twist the handlebars, which is cool, so you can adjust the angle of your brake levers and that sort of thing. And then, let's see if I can do this with one hand holding the camera. So you can bring this down to bring it closer to you. So my daughter is 9. She was actually able to get this bike to fit her by bringing the seat post all the way down and then bringing the handlebars all the way forward. And as we bring them forward, you know, you just twist them like that. And if you're taller like I am, then you can actually just angle that back up. And if you really want to have a long reach on it, then you can move those all the way forward like this. And again, just twist those around. There we go. And then lock that in. And now you've really extended the reach of this bike by quite a bit. I'll just adjust that angle a little bit more. There we go, like that. Perfect. So again, ideally, you're using a folding bike because you need it to fold. You know, you're putting it in the trunk of your car, you're going on public transport, you travel a lot, so you want to put it on the airplane. And Tern does make suitcases and carrying bags for their folding bikes, which is really cool. We can get those for you. But also when you are riding, if you find that you need to change your riding position because you get stiff, it is nice to be able to very quickly adjust that to bring it more closer to you or further away. Or if you're sharing a bike, it's nice that this kind of is a one-size-fits-all bike. And for folding it up, I'll try to show that to you in a few moments. We also do have the latch here, which we can slide and then pull, and that will help us to fold it up here. And they even include a little strap here to strap it together. And you'll also notice that there's magnets on the bike there and the back here to help hold it together. And it seems like a little thing, but when you look at a lot of folding bikes, they don't have that, and so the bike ends up flopping around as you try to move it. It's really annoying. With this particular bike, it's going to stay together because of that strap and the magnets as well. And you do have on the seat here a little bit of a handle that you can use to move the bike when it's folded up, which is great. We do have the rack, and again, Tern has a bunch of accessories for the rack that's available, and they have included 2 bungee cords here. Those wrap around, so that's handy to have those along all the time should you need to strap something onto your rack. Trying to think of, the pedals also fold here, and these are really interesting folding pedals. It's hard to do it with one hand with the camera here, but basically you should be able to pull them towards you and then fold them down. And I would have to, I'm doing it the wrong way. Push it in, there we go, and fold them down. And to lock them back up, I just do that. So it's nice, very easy to do. I can actually do that with one hand now that I know what I'm doing. And you would do that again before folding it up as well. We do have the integrated kickstand. It's a center kickstand, which is nice in terms of stability, but they've also designed it so that the crank arms don't hit it. So that's nice because sometimes that can be a challenge with the kickstands. Wiring isn't run internally. That's something I'd like to see, but you would expect on more expensive bikes. In this case, they've got a nice wiring loom here to protect everything from rubbing on your frame or getting caught. They've got it fairly tight, and you know, it's fairly neat and tidy in terms of running to the drive system and everything. And we've got a speed sensor on the back here. So it's a very well-designed bike, very comfortable to ride, and a good value considering the quality of the components that they've used at that particular price. Let me set the camera down and I'll fold it back up. I've never folded it up before, and so I wanted to show you not the expert that can do it in 10 seconds, because you can fold and unfold it within 10 seconds once you have learned how to do that. I'm just, you know, the regular guy with the bike trying it out to see how it folds up, and so you can expect that as you get better at it, you'll be able to do it much more quickly. Okay, so we'll start by folding the pedals, and Tern does include a leaflet, and they have information on their website as well, how to properly fold up the bike, so that's really helpful. But once you've done it a few times, I'm sure you'll find it fairly straightforward. Okay, so we folded in the pedals, and then we open up the latch here. So we slide the latch here and basically open it up. And once it's open, basically bring the back tire beside the rear tire. And go close the kickstand as well. There we go. And that just latches, that magnet just grabs it right together there, so that's really cool. And then we can lower the stem here, slide the slider there, and open that up. And that's going to fold down right beside it here. And now we have this latch here, there are two strap that just clips right on there, holds that all together. And I should also lower the seat post. And it does come with a little, because you can get the seat post to come out all the way, you can see from right through there. They actually include a cover and bring along that you can put on there so that it doesn't scratch any surfaces. Otherwise, if you leave the seat a little bit higher, then of course it won't come all the way through there, but that'll be harder to pull it up. So it's nice to have that feature as well. And then I can actually, if I wish to, wheel the bike along while it's folded up. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Unfolding it equally as straightforward. Don't forget to undo the strap here. Move the front wheel over, put the stem up, and latch this in. And yeah, you could definitely get very quick at it and do it in less than 10 seconds. There we go. So this is the Tern eLink. It's a folding electric bike with a mid-drive, and for all of the details on it or any of the other e-bikes we carry, if you'd like to try it out, just head on over to CitrusCycles.ca. Give it a test of the brakes. I'm not a big fan of mechanical brakes on an e-bike, especially. I really prefer going with hydraulic brakes if you can. Now here I didn't downshift, so this is one of the nice things about the internally geared hub is you can shift while you're stopped. There we go. So anyways, in regards to the brakes, yeah, if you can get a bike with hydraulic disc brakes or hydraulic rim brakes, it means you have to use a lot less of your own force to stop them, and that's definitely a good thing when you are on an e-bike and you have a lot of hills. This bike uses mechanical linear pull brakes, rim brakes, and does require some of your own force to stop. Now, I didn't have any problems with that hill. I'll try a few more hills and see how it does. When you're shifting a internally geared hub like this, you do need to back off a little bit on your pedaling, and then it shifts very smoothly. If I put a lot of force on the pedals and try to shift, you can hear that clunking that happens, whereas if I ease off a bit, you won't hear it at all. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. But it is really nice that you can shift at a standstill. A bit of an incline here. I'm going to try putting it up to boost, which is the highest level of assist. It's interesting. This is my first experience with the Vectron mid-drive. I've ridden a lot of other bikes with mid-drives. This one is not super powerful. I mean, it's getting me up the hills, no problem. But it definitely doesn't have the same power that you would find, say, in a Bosch or Shimano Steps or Yamaha motor. You can see as I pedal, try to get the camera on the chain there. It's a little bit slower to cut out, say a Bosch system would be. So if I pedal and then stop, you can see it takes a little bit before it actually stops. It's fairly quick, it's still fairly responsive.
quite as responsive. Now, riding position, this is actually nice, fairly upright. The bike feels very manageable. It doesn't feel like I'm riding a little tiny bike, especially if you don't look down at the wheels, since you can't really see your wheels. But if you just sit, adjust, you've got the adjustments on the stem here to bring it forward or backwards, and your seat, of course, can go up and down quite a bit. Get it to a nice, comfortable riding position, and it's actually a good bike to ride. Nice and comfortable. There is no suspension fork, but we do have the Schwalbe Big Bend, and that actually gives you a fair bit of comfort. Now, stopping here, coming down the hill, I didn't have any problems doing it, but I definitely had to use a lot more force than I do on my bikes with the hydraulic disc brakes. So again, you just need to be aware that if you are going with this bike, you are getting mechanical disc brakes, you are going to have to be able to use your own force, your own. You're going to have to pull these brakes pretty hard to stop them. Now, I'm hitting some pretty fast speeds here coming down this hill, and the bike feels very stable. It doesn't feel jittery at all. The front wheel isn't shaking at all, and the Big Bend tires do seem to be doing a pretty good job of smoothing the ride out. I really, haven't noticed it being really rough or bumpy yet. Ratios on this bike are actually pretty good too, because I was moving along at a pretty good clip there, and I could still pedal and make a contribution while I was pedaling. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now I've got a fairly long steep hill here, and in my easiest gear, there we go, and on the highest level of assist. It's not bad. Again, this 250 watt motor isn't going to be nearly as powerful as, say, a Bosch mid-drive. So if you have got a lot of hills and you don't need something that folds, you just want a compact bike, if you don't mind spending the money, you'd be better served by something like the recent Mueller Tinker. It's the Bosch Performance CX, which has huge amounts of torque, has the new Vinci continuously variable transmission, which gives you better gear ratios, and it definitely gets you up this hill a lot faster than this bike. So I'm making it up, not quickly, using a fair bit of my own energy. I could go, back off my energy a little bit. There we go. And, that's just going to drop my speed, but I'm going to make it without having to work too hard. So yes, this bike, the Tern eLink here, it will handle hills. It just won't handle them as fast as some of the more expensive bikes with a Bosch mid-drive or something like that, or even some of the rear hub motor bikes will give you a little bit more power. Now, the nice thing about this bike is because it is a mid-drive, you are getting your mechanical advantage when you shift the gears here, and so that means it does make it easier to get up the hills, even when it's a pretty steep, long hill like that, and even with the lower powered motor, because you've got the mechanical advantage, it is going to help you out. And I've hit a few potholes and things like that while riding, and really it hasn't been a problem, even with these smaller tires. I think it helps that they're really wide, and you can get the tire pressure. I've got the tire pressure kind of at the bottom of the range, just maybe about 35 psi, and that helps absorb a lot of the bumps as well. as I was saying before, the gear ratio, you know, I do find that I wouldn't mind if it were wider. I've got some pretty significant hills here in Ladysmith, but for the most part, you know, your lowest gear is going to be able to help you climb up the hills, and your highest gear, you're still going to be able to move the bike along fairly quickly. I didn't have any problems pedaling and contributing at the higher speeds. Again, you just have to be aware with those mechanical pull brakes that you're going to have to squeeze harder and give yourself more time to stop. But that's one of the payoffs or drawbacks or compromises, I guess, you make when you're designing a bike and trying to get it at this price range. So if you're looking for a bike with a lot of power, a lot of stopping power, like I said, if you don't need it folding, you don't mind spending more money, Resingular Tinker is a good idea. Vectron, sort of the Tern Vectron is another bike you can consider. It's also from Tern, like this bike, but instead of using this Bafang mid-drive, they actually use a Bosch mid-drive. And that's definitely going to also have a bit more power, although they use the active line, and the Resingular uses the performance line CX, which is actually the most powerful, and definitely gives you a lot more power. But if you're looking for a bike, you know, for kind of that last mile on your commute, maybe you're taking the bus or the train and you want to have something you can fold up, or you travel a lot and want to bring it along with you and just want to go exploring, this is a great bike. You know, any of these flat sections, I'm able to keep a decent speed. One of the things I'm noticing with shifting here is it is a little bit slow to shift, because sometimes the motor is still engaged and still moving your chain. And so that internally geared hub isn't going to downshift or upshift while there's still pressure on the chain, tension on the chain. So you do want to get your shifting done in advance. So here's a bit of a gravel trail. We'll try with these tires. I actually don't anticipate any problems on this type of trail. I've got some experience with these Trolley Big Bend tires. They're actually great tires. You know, and those are some of the differences that make this bike worth the price compared to some of the other less expensive folding bikes. We often go with no-name tires with no puncture resistance. You know, and if you're riding in an urban setting, chances are you are going to come across some things that are going to cause tire problems. And with these Schwalbe, they actually have a fair amount of puncture resistance in them, and that's really nice to have. Yeah, so far no problems, lots of traction, bike's really comfortable. It's not actually as bumpy as I thought it would be. So I think that's those tires that are really working out well. Really the only thing I've noticed with this bike is, like I said, you do have to be conscious of your braking and also of your shifting, that if the motor's still spinning, it's going to take a moment before your hub there shifts. But I do like having the internally geared hub, especially on a folding bike. You don't have to worry about adjusting your derailleur or your derailleur going out of whack. Often, you know, you fold it up, wrestle it into a bag or wrestle it on and off a train or in your trunk or wherever, airplane, and things get knocked around. It's nice to have the fenders. Hello. Nice to have the fenders when you go through mud like that, and again, the tires handle quite well in the mud. So yeah, not having a derailleur means you know, you're not worried about things getting knocked around, out of adjustment. With an internally geared hub like this, it's very unlikely that your chain's going to fall off. And that's another annoyance that can sometimes happen, especially on a folding bike. You'll find that the derailleur runs so low to the ground in order to get all of the gears that if you're not careful, you end up hitting the derailleur cage on the curb or on the ground or something like that. Alright, we've got a very steep hill here. I don't think I'll make it up. Just don't think I have a low enough gear. This is the type of hill, it doesn't look that steep, and on the video, it is the type of hill that, you know, I put it in turbo when I'm on my Bosch mountain bike, and the other challenge is traction, spinning out on this gravel, but I'm pushing it hard and it's making it, so yeah, it's surprisingly doable even on a little bike like this. Perhaps it's the smaller tires that give you the increase in traction. Back here on the roads, of course, performing very well. Most of your riding is on gravel trails. You might not need a folding bike, maybe this isn't the bike for you, but it certainly handles it well, but it really shines on pavement. So this is the Tern eLink. It's got the Vectron mid-drive, folds up nice and small, very portable bike. If you'd like to give it a try, if you have questions about it, or you'd like to check out our video reviews of the other bikes I've mentioned, head on over to CitrusCycles.ca.